I was standing in the living room of the home I'd basically rescued 3 different times. Once when my dad had major back surgery and couldn't work for months. Then again during the crash in Reno, when both my parents saw nearly half their retirement vanish overnight. And most recently, just last March, when their furnace died right before a snowstorm hit, and I wired the full amount to the contractor before they'd even asked for it. That day, though, I wasn't there to play savior. I was just helping Dad scan a few documents for their health insurance, something I did pretty regularly. My dad, Ron Whitaker, never really got the hang of that printer-scanner combo, even though he'd had it for a decade. He always said I was good with gadgets, though honestly, I'd been in project management for over 10 years, not IT. He'd left a neat stack of papers on the dining table. I flipped through them quickly: medical records, Medicare paperwork, a couple of utility bills. Then I noticed it. A thick, cream-colored folder, clearly labeled in my mom's tidy handwriting: estate plan, final copy. I know I shouldn't have opened it. But I had just paid their property tax bill last week. It was $10,178. And like always, I planned to swing by the pharmacy afterward to pick up their blood pressure meds. So yeah, I opened it. Inside was their will, notarized just 2 months ago. The house, completely paid off. What was left of their retirement funds? A life insurance policy. And every single bit of it was going to my brother, Evan Whitaker. 29. Unemployed. Still living at home. The same brother who had dropped out of college twice. He'd spent a few years working on music, which mostly meant messing around in the garage and uploading clips that never got more than a couple hundred views. My parents always said he just hadn't found his direction yet. My name, Emily Whitaker, showed up exactly once. One line. We love both of our children equally and trust them to care for one another. That was it.no mention of the taxes I paid. No note about the savings I'd transferred without them asking. Not even a thank you. Just a very polite way of saying, "You're fine, and we don't owe you anything." I didn't say a word at first. Just stared at the document while the scanner buzzed along. My hands were steady, but my breathing wasn't. Dad walked back in with his coffee and asked, "You getting through that pile, Em?" I held up the folder. "Is this how it is, Dad?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "Everything to Evan?" He stopped mid-sip. Just froze. Then let out this long, tired sigh that told me he already knew what I'd seen. "It's not what you think." I didn't respond, because it was exactly what I thought. I didn't push. Not right away. He just stood there, gripping that mug like it had the answers. And then he mumbled, "We figured you'd understand. You've always done well, Emily." That's what they always said when they didn't want to explain. You've always done well. Translation? You don't get to need anything. I left the folder on the table and stepped out onto the porch to catch my breath. The swing creaked a little as I sat down. I'd replaced that swing myself 2 summers ago. Same week the deck railing gave out, and I hired someone to fix it because Evan said he was between paychecks again. Back then, I didn't mind. I was raised to handle things. To be dependable. I grew up in that house, shared a bedroom with Evan until I was 13, when Dad finally finished the basement. I still remember us painting the walls blue together, Dad, Evan, and me, while Mom brought out lemonade and said, "Look at my little team." Some team. I stayed in Austin after college because Mom said she couldn't sleep well when I was too far away. I turned down a job in New York, more money, better title, faster track, because I figured family came first. They never told me I had to sacrifice. But they also never said I didn't need to. There were all the small things, covering their car insurance when they were short, picking up groceries when their SNAP benefits were delayed, calling the credit card company when late fees started piling up. And then the big stuff, like transferring $11,000 from my savings to catch them up on their mortgage 4 years ago. I never hesitated. I just wanted them to feel secure. Safe. Not worried, and after all of that, I was just a footnote. I sat out on that porch swing, staring across the yard at the old oak tree. Evan had carved his initials into it once, EW plus LK, for some girl from his second high school stint. I couldn't help but wonder, did he ever chip in to have that tree trimmed? Did he even know it cost $800 last summer after a storm nearly split it in half? Did they ever stop to think about what I gave up? Not just the money, but the calm, the ease, the life I could have built if I hadn't stayed. Or was I always just the one who didn't need to be asked? Because I was the one who always showed up first, I didn't go back inside. The swing creaked under me once and settled. Through the screen door, I could still hear the quiet hum of the scanner chugging along. A few minutes passed before Mom stepped out. She was wearing that same faded blue cardigan she always wore when she had something heavy to say, the one I gave her a gift card for the Christmas Evan burned her a CD. She said she loved both. Of course she did. She didn't sit right away. Just stood there, twisting the edge of her sleeve between her fingers. "Emily," she said, "not too soft, not too sharp." I didn't look up, she sat beside me anyway. "We didn't want you to find out like that." I gave a slight nod, once. I wasn't going to do the emotional labor for her. She let out a breath, not quite a sigh, more like letting the air go so she could pretend it wasn't that big of a deal. "It's not that we don't love you." I still said nothing, because what do you call love that forgets you when it's inconvenient? She rested her hand on mine. Her skin was warm, her fingers shaking just a little. "Evans had it harder. You're steady, Em. You always have been. Steady. Strong. Reliable." Nice words. Until you realize they're just ways to make you easier to drain, labels people use so they can keep taking from you without feeling guiltied. I pulled my hand away. "You could have told me," I said, voice low and even. "You could have asked." She looked out toward the tree instead of at me. Then she said it, like whispering it might make it weigh less. "We co-signed for Evan. He needed help." It didn't hit like a punch. More like a knock on the door you didn't want to open, but already knew was there. But I heard everything in those few words. They didn't just leave me out of the will, they'd already tied themselves to him with actual money. Real debt. Real stakes. "How much?" I asked. "Nothing." "Mom. How much?" Still silence. Then finally, soft as ash, 35. I stood up. The wind had started to pick up, and the old wind chime above the porch gave one hollow clink before going still. I looked at her, not angry. Just empty. "You didn't pick him because he needed it. You picked him because you already owed it to him." Her eyes got wide, but I wasn't waiting for her reaction. I just hadn't realized the price of being meant to be okay. I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't explain. That week, I canceled the automatic payments I'd set up for their utility bills. I deleted the calendar reminder that popped up every month to reorder their meds. I paused the grocery delivery that showed up like clockwork every Thursday at 4:00 scene. No dramatic goodbye. Just a quiet shift. A hole where I used to be. I figured they'd notice right away. But a whole week passed, nothing. By the second week, the messages started rolling in. The first one was from Dad. "Water bill came in higher this month. Can you check the account?" I didn't reply then. "Mom says we're out of the low-sodium crackers you always bring." Evan forgot. I left it unread. They weren't worried. Not yet. They probably thought I was busy, or cranky from work, or just needed some space. Maybe they figured I'd come back around, like always. But by the third week, the tone shifted. "Emily," Mom wrote. "The mortgage is due. Can you send what you usually do? No hello. No how are you. Just a number and a need." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "Ask Evan." It's his house now, and I hit send. Didn't wait for a reply. About 5 minutes later, my phone lit up. Mom was calling. I let it ring out. Then came another message, "Please don't do this. We need to talk." But there was nothing left to say. They'd made their choice. I was just finally acting like it mattered. That evening, Evan chimed in. Don't turn this into a big thing. Just help them, like always. Like always. Like clockwork. Like it was muscle memory. Like I'd never been more than the family's personal safety net. I wrote back, "You're the one they picked, Evan. So start being the pick." He didn't respond. The next morning, I woke up to a transfer request from Mom, $3,200, exactly the overdue mortgage amount plus penalties. No message. No explanation. Just a cold, silent number. I hit decline. A minute later, the phone rang again. Then again. Then came the text, "We could lose the house if you don't help us." And finally, from Dad, "You'd let your parents end up on the street?" I almost laughed. Homeless? No. Just finally uncomfortable. For once, they were starting to feel the weight of what I'd been carrying all along, and I'd done it silently, without ever making it their problem. I shut off my phone. They didn't lose me the moment they left me out of the will, they lost me the moment they assumed I'd never stop giving. A whole week passed after I declined that transfer. Not a single call. Not a single text. It was the quietest they'd ever been in years, and somehow, that silence made more noise than all the pleading. I started sleeping deeper. Woke up without checking my phone. I cooked for myself. Just me. Not worrying about who else needed what. But in my family, silence never lasts, not when there's blame to hand out. It started with a voicemail from Aunt Beth. She rarely called me, always said she didn't want to get pulled into family stuff. But that morning, her message was, "I'm not taking sides, sweetheart, but your mom's real worried. Maybe you could give her a call." That's when I knew they'd started spreading their version. I opened Facebook, just to confirm the gut feeling, and sure enough, there it was. A photo of the porch swing I'd fixed myself 2 summers ago. The caption read, "We gave everything to our children, but sometimes love just isn't enough." Dozens of likes. A handful of concerned comments. And then one from Evan, "Some people think family's about money. They forget it's about being there." I didn't get mad. I didn't even cry. I just sat there, feeling hollow. They weren't just hurt, they were recasting the entire story. Turning me from the one who always stepped in, into the one who abandoned them. All because I stopped being a resource. The next afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Plain white, inside, a foreclosure notice, copy only. It wasn't addressed to me, but I recognized the house number. I sat there, holding it. Stared at the black and white printout. Then flipped the page over and scribbled on the back. "Maybe you should have left it to someone who could actually handle it." I didn't mail it. Instead, I checked the county property site. Sure enough, the house was listed as at risk. Behind on payments. No remaining cushion. They'd burned through everything. All of it. Probably trying to keep up appearances, hoping I'd crack before reality did. Evan had run it into the ground. The money they gave him, for security, for their peace of mind, for his future, gone. All of it. There was a time I would have jumped in without thinking. Called the mortgage company, explained the situation, asked for a grace period. I'd have shuffled funds around, cleaned up their mess. So there I was, pouring myself a glass of water, sitting down at the kitchen table, while the house just kind of slipped away without me. Sometimes, it's not about lighting the fire, it's about stopping hauling the water. It all started small. Mom posted something vague, just a sunflower emoji. Then a picture of her and Dad smiling on their porch. We raised them with love, didn't we? We tried our best, but sometimes love alone isn't enough. No names, no direct shots, but I knew exactly what she meant. And anyone who really knew us did too. Aunt Lisa chimed in, "You both are incredible parents. You deserve so much better." Then Dad posted a day later, longer, a lot less subtle. He said, "We gave everything to our kids. Time, money, love. We thought we did right by them, but in the end, you can't control who turns their back." He tagged me in it, no call, no private message, just a public post for the world to see. I didn't reply. I just watched it grow. Likes rolling in, family, friends, even people I hadn't heard from since high school. One comment read, "This generation just doesn't get sacrifice." And then there was Evan. Of course, Evan. He shared Dad's post with his own caption. "Some people only care when they want something. I'd give anything to protect Mom and Dad. Guess not everyone thinks about family like that." I read it twice, then again. This was the same guy who hadn't paid rent in years, who drained every penny they had left, who watched the house crumble, and now he was painting himself the victim. The comments got worse. "You're such a great son. Your sister should be ashamed. They gave her everything, she just wanted more." Nobody knew the real story. Nobody wanted to. They wanted a drama. And my family gave them exactly that. I probably would have stayed silent. Let the storm blow over. But then I saw her name, Kelly. My cousin. The one who once told me, "You're the glue holding this family together." She liked the post. Left a heart emoji. No words. Just that. It hit me harder than I expected. Maybe because I thought she understood. Maybe because I thought she saw me. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something crack inside. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, final snap. They weren't just rewriting the story, they were wiping me out of it. They came on a Thursday. I should have seen it coming. The texts hadn't worked. The money requests ignored. The guilt trip stale, so now they showed up in person. At 10:42 a.m., the front desk called. "Ms. Emily, your parents are here. And a guy who says he's your brother." I stood outside my office, staring at the floor tiles, while the receptionist went on. "They want to come up. Said it's urgent." I took a deep breath. "Please tell them I'm not here. That they're not welcome." There was a pause. "They said they'll wait." I nodded, even though no one could see me. Then I just let them point. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom, "We're downstairs. Open the door." Another, "We're not leaving until we talk." I didn't rush. Finished my meeting, answered a couple emails, then headed down. They were right there by the lobby, standing way too close like they'd practiced. Dad stood rigid, like he was holding back a lecture. Mom gripped her purse with both hands, eyes darting around. Evan looked like he wished he was anywhere else. They all turned when I walked through the door. Nobody said a word. I stayed put, arms crossed, calm. "We need to talk," Mom said, her voice already frayed. I looked at her, then just walked past. The street was quiet. A delivery truck rumbled in the distance. I didn't say a thing. Dad cleared his throat. "You'd really let us lose the house over this?" I let that hang. "Then, you really thought I wouldn't?" He opened his mouth to answer, but I cut him off. "You left me out. You handed everything to Evan. And now here they were, asking me for the same kind of support I'd given without hesitation for years." Nobody said a word. Mom stepped forward, her voice softer this time. "We thought you'd understand. You've always been so strong." I just nodded. "You used that strength as a reason to forget me." Evan finally mumbled something. I didn't catch all of it, something about not asking for any of this. "But you took it," I shot back. He looked away. Dad put his hands on his hips, clearly annoyed. "We fed you, raised you. You owe us something." I almost laughed. "I paid that debt every month, every year. And still, you erased me." Mom's lip trembled. "We never meant to hurt you." I took a step closer. "Then why did you wait until I vanished before you realized I was the one holding everything together?" They had no answer. Evan reached for the door handle. I raised my hand. "Don't. You're not coming up. You're not coming in." I'm not your answer this time. No yelling. No drama. Just silence. There they stood, 3 people who used to call themselves my family. And me? I was done fighting to be seen by people who only noticed when they wanted something. They didn't lose me when they changed the will. They lost me the moment they believed I'd never walk away. I never blocked their numbers. Didn't have to. The quiet I gave them was louder than any shouting they could throw back. They texted for a while. Mom tried the gentle approach. Dad turned cold, blaming, demanding. Evan mostly stayed silent. Just one last message from him: "You think this makes you better?" Walking away. I didn't respond. A few days later, I went for a walk, no real destination, just moving. Somehow my route took me past the neighborhood I grew up in. The street looked exactly the same, cracked sidewalks, a fence half painted. But the house, there was a for sale sign on the lawn, shutters faded, grass dying. I stood on the sidewalk, staring at it. The porch light was off. The swing I fixed was gone. The wind chime was gone too. I didn't need to get closer or look inside to know what had fallen apart. That house never held me. I was the one holding it up. And now? It was somebody else's problem. As I turned away, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Once. Then again. I didn't check it. I already knew whose name would be flashing. I let it buzz, then stopped, then buzzed again. Finally, I pulled it out. Missed call, Mom. Another missed call, Dad. Then a voicemail. I knew. I muted the phone and slipped it back into my coat pocket. No message needed. I already knew what it would say. I walked home through the cold, slow air of a late autumn afternoon. Not angry. Not feeling victorious. Just free. I was never their backup plan. They just liked pretending I'd never leave. If they once counted on your silence but forgot your name, just leave a heart emoji. Some of us never raised our voice, but we never disappeared.